Great. Good evening. This is the April 15th, 2015 meeting of the Finance Committee. It's just after 7 o'clock. Our agenda, we're going over several items kind of in a, not necessarily order that's listed here, but we will be reviewing tonight the library budget, pension and benefits budget, the town meeting warrant articles. We have some transfers, and we're going to try to squeeze in a further discussion on the budget process. I think Ed is also going to give us an update on the budget as of today. So we will take this a little out of order just to get some of the department heads moving along and not keep them here tonight. So we're going to start with the library. Our library director is here. Carol Ann, nice to see you. If you want to come on up, wherever. What I'd like to do is actually take your transfer first, and then review of your budget, then we get you on your way.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We've got two transfers. We're going to have to take them individually. The first is a transfer of $5,000 to the heating oil account from the children's librarian account. The present balance in that account is $19,332. This is to cover gas invoices till the end of the fiscal year. My understanding, Ed, is we had kind of worked in some not necessarily realistic numbers on the heating oil and a couple of the utilities were in terms of the budget piece.
Well, in terms of the library, we provided enough in the departmental budget to meet their net minimum contribution as determined by the Massachusetts Library Commission. Anything in addition to that would result in an amount greater than that and would mean that we would make a commitment to increasing the budget of 2.5% of the base value for the following year. So we try to hold the net minimum as best we can. Given the fact that the money is available in the budget, we're going to assume that additional cost. There have been some vacancies within the budget that allow us to do that without increasing it, bottom line. So it's more or less of a cost-shifting transfer.
Okay. I'll open it up to any other questions.
Motion to approve? Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so voted. Also, from the children's librarian account, amount requested $400 to the travel/conference account. This is to cover a deficit in mileage. Carol Ann, any comment on that
What it
account?
really is when someone's going from place to place, they get reimbursed for their mileage, and there's really wasn't enough put into that particular section, so we're a little on the shortfall for it.
Okay. Any questions on that?
Motion to recommend? Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. Okay, let's go right to your budget. Let me just list the bottom line on your budget, what we have here, and then I'll actually open it up to you for a little bit of discussion on that. I understand you have some exciting news from down at the library anyways that
We do.
you want to make sure people know. The amount requested, town manager recommends a budget of $576,766, and we do need to keep in mind that there's a salary reserve piece of this of just over $2,100 that will bring us up to the minimum required contribution on that. And actually, I'll open it up to you in terms of any discussion points on this.
The overall budget, it's really important that it does meet that standard minimum amount, because it's not just making the standard minimum amount, but it's what makes a public library a public library. It allows us to communicate with the, 500-plus libraries across the Commonwealth. It allows us to get state aid, and it increases the amount by how much you get, by how much you can meet it. So we tried to be, when we were working on this, be realistic and be fair to the library and fair to our patrons, and we believe that this is the best we can pull off,
Okay. Ed, anything to add on that, at least from operational? I know we're trying to hit that minimum.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that in addition to what is being recommended here, there is state aid money. I think the total amount is 24,000. That's used in a special revenue account that's used for materials and things to supplement this budget. And there are also a variety of grants that I know Carol Ann has applied for and has recently been awarded that is assisting in providing
Great.
additional services to the library as well.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Ed. Any questions? And before we take a motion on this, we had a, oh, yeah, go ahead.
Question.
Yeah.
In the past, we've talked about the need, or in the library, the librarian has talked about the need for, I guess you call it tech person, someone to do maintenance on the computers and things like that. How is that need being met now?
At this point in time, we have a wonderful IT person at the town. And myself, I'm pretty good at working with computers. We could always use someone who would be able to be there for the patrons, to be able to help them figure out some of their computer needs. But right now, we're doing okay with that. You know, that we're able to, for the most part, keep all of our computers up and running. And the ones that aren't up and running are not fixable. Like, you know, a button will have gone on it and you just can't, or you can change the button, but it's really cheaper just to buy a new terminal.
How is that, can I ask you, how is that come out of your budget for the hardware, or does that come out of the IT budget for the town?
We have not had to change any hardware since I've been there in a year, so I don't really know that.
Yeah, if you look at the capital side of the budget on the library, you're going to see $12,000 to update computer equipment. And I believe that is scheduled every other year, and it puts that on basically a 4-year replacement program. So I think all of their computers have been recently upgraded. And we are current on that.
Okay, thank you.
Good. And one last, at least time in front of the microphone before we vote on this. I know you'd mentioned just before that the renovations are done at the library, and I was hoping you could share with folks at home just a little bit on what's new down there.
The renovations for the inside of the library, the new carpeting for both the adult room and the children room are complete. Both rooms have new layouts that puts the inside of the building in complete ADA compliant, which is kind of cool. Before, the building was not in compliance simply by the way the stacks were laid out. We have our adaptive equipment that is all up and running, so if you have a special need, either visual or perhaps with a movement disorder, we have equipment that can help you use the internet, or just if you want to write a letter, whatever, we have the access for that. If you have an old document that is really, really faded and you can't barely see the words, we have a new technology there that you can put that document on one of our computers, and it's able to change the color of the lettering, and you're able to read it, which is very, very cool.
Great. That's great.
So come down and see the library, and if you think that there's nothing in the library for you to do, there's always something. We have, you know, DVDs and audio books, playaways, viewaways, the computers, programs, and of course the old standard books.
There's books there too, that's great. Okay, we have before us town manager request for a budget $576,766 with consideration to meeting the required contribution via the salary reserve. It's essentially flat funded on last year. Do you have a motion on this?
Motion to recommend? Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you, thanks for your time.
And come visit us,
All righty.
Sam said.
All right, so that's the library budget. I noted there was nothing in fiscal '20 for capital for the library, Ed. Hopefully I was looking at the right column.
I believe you were. I'll double check that.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to go back to transfers. We have a new director here. How are you, Darlene? Nice to see you. We have a transfer request, and this is, let's see, the amount requested is $6,925.45. This is from the DDIS Planning Board account to the DDIS Board of Health account. Reason for the transfer is the appointment to director. I believe this, Ed, this covers, this transfer covers an adjustment?
This transfer covers the recent appointment of Darlene as the new department head for the Department of Inspection Services through June 30th, and also provides an adjustment for the time that she was acting, which has been for a period of 6+ months. This will satisfy that obligation, and we're going to have to come to the Finance Committee in the future to adjust the inspector's wage account, because we had to have a commissioner that's serving in a capacity of about 19 and a half hours per week. That is expected to continue through the end of June, roughly. We have the funds within the department to cover those adjustments as well. There'll be no transfers outside of the department into the reserve account to handle those obligations. So, reason we didn't bring them in tonight, although they are in deficit balances, we know there's money internally, but the hours may change depending on the certification and the licensure of the current inspector. We had discussions this morning regarding that. I just wanted to let the Finance Committee know that we will bring in a couple of transfers before June 30th to adjust those accordingly.
So we got to meet at least once more before fiscal year end. All right, sorry about that, everyone. Any questions or comments for Darlene?
Motion to approve?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Same here.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just keep them here for now. Now, I know Jeff and Bill, both of you have warrant articles, correct? All right, so what I'm going to do is we're going to take care of the last budget first, and then we'll get to, I guess we'll do the transfers, and then we'll do the town meeting warrant. All right, so we've got our last budget, unless I overlook something, is the pension and benefits budget. The amount requested by the town manager is $8,840,230. This is a 3.97% increase over prior year, or just over $337,000. Instead of going through the line items, Ed, if you could give us a brief on the highlights of this, and any other comments?
Okay, the group health insurance is up roughly about a blended 4%, but contractually, we've committed to one premium holiday for all union and non-represented employees. That results in about a 2% adjustment or savings to the town for that year. So based upon our active enrollment, and we built in a buffer of 10, considering that there may be new employees, there may be turnover, and during the open enrollment. And we do this every year. We build in a buffer, not knowing what the open enrollment is. We want to provide at least a safety net for a increase that may result in the open enrollment period, which happens in May. So we believe that the $6,145,000 will be sufficient to meet our health insurance needs. What's the regional retirement? That is a fixed number. We do know that. We do realize a 2% reduction if paid by July 1. We take advantage of that reduction and pay that early. Medicare is based upon a level of COLA that is going to our employees. Medicare is 1.45% of gross wages, so if we expect a 2% COLA, we just apply a 2% adjustment to that line item. Unemployment comp has been running pretty flat as of late. We expect that the expenditures for the current year will not eclipse $50,000, so we're just going based upon actual claims right now. That could change. That's something we keep an eye on. And that's basically it. Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'll open up to questions. No questions on this? I know, Ed, you had actually also passed out, this is, and it's, I guess this is not just talking to the pension and benefits, but just so the Finance Committee had an idea of the school's percentage of the pension and benefits. As I think most people listening know, the school budget that is provided to us annually, and this is part of a normal process, does not include several expenses that range everywhere from group insurance all the way right down to snowplow removal. And please correct me if I'm not capturing all this correctly. So there's about a dozen, maybe a few more, that there is a percentage of cost. And the Schedule 19, that is provided, the percentages here, is that provided by the state, or?
No, the percentages are based upon the agreement we have with the school department.
Okay.
So as you look down the percentage of allocation, it varies based upon that agreement. And it's reevaluated every year. For instance, the group insurance, the Medicare, and the other post-employment benefits are actually based upon the actual payroll. We take a snapshot every September. We don't fine-tune it all the way through the year. We measure that roughly in mid-September. So right now, this 69.86% was the school department share of health insurance as of September of 14. We will measure that again September of 15. And all the other percentages were agreed upon based upon an agreement that was forged by town and school a couple of years ago.
Okay. So, just looking at this, and once again, I'm not looking at this as a percent of just pension and benefits, the additional costs regarding the schools outside of their budget, and this is also excluding Bay Path or vocational schools, is somewhere about $6.67 million.
Right, if you include Bay Path, that's $7,872,000. Bay Path is a eligible expense under Schedule 19.
Right.
If you back that off, you're right, you're about a 6.6.
Yeah, my point being is that's an uncontrollable to the local school district. I want to make sure we're clear on that. And we have not included school-related debt and interest costs, which are...
And that's provided on a schedule that's
Yep.
attached.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the pie chart on the third page, since we're talking about indirect, you can see that the total direct and indirect cost, school-related, is about 64.61% of the total budget.
Okay. Okay, just interesting. Any questions, Ian?
I just want to make a comment. So looking at our group health insurance costs $6,145,000, which is an enormous number, but we should keep in mind that 70% of it is for school employees.
Correct.
So just something to think about when we talk about the school budget, and if we had a regional school district, that number would be included in the assessment that the town received. But when we don't have a regional district, it's interesting to have it put here so we can actually see what the number is.
Kim?
I
Any
think we
question?
had a discussion, a brief one at our last meeting, that I would like to, it's too late for this year's budget.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to find a way of, I'm not saying that we reduce anything, but to really segregate this out so that town meeting knows that these costs are education costs, and that the general government, you know, we look at the budget for general government and schools as two separate things when we're appropriating money. But it doesn't accurately reflect how much we are actually paying in costs for providing education. So it kind of looks like the general government side is much more expensive to operate than the school side because they're not carrying those costs. And I don't think your average town meeting member or resident has any idea of that. And it would be far more accurate to reflect it that way.
Okay,
If we
we,
created another appropriation account that was school indirect costs, and we segregated that out, however you do, I don't know, Eddie, I mean, you'd have to decide what the best way to do that, so that it was
Yeah.
an appropriation that showed.
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, from a budgetary perspective, it's very difficult to do, to carve these out and actually drop them into the budgets. For instance, debt and interest can only be, the treasurer collector is a custodian of debt and
Right.
interest. I can't
Right.
have them pay debt and interest out of the school department budget.
Yeah.
So it does present some problems, although this captures all the costs associated with schools. It's how it's presented, in what fashion it's presented to town meeting. Certainly, we could throw this up or make this part of the budget as a supplemental page, or,
yeah, what I'd like to do is two things. Number one, I don't want to drop this conversation, but let's hold it. We do have it on the agenda tonight, and this was kind of central to a little general discussion on it. I think if everyone is agreeable, we'll stick with passing our last budget, go through the rest of this. I want to make sure some of these department heads can move on before
no,
we get
that's
into
fine.
that. So
I
I don't want to end the discussion, but
Yeah, no, I
Wait
mean,
till-
and I wouldn't have started that discussion.
Sure.
Except for pensions and benefits budget kind of really
absolutely.
makes it pop.
Yep, and it'll give us a chance to touch back to the pension and benefit budget if we get around to passing it. Regarding the pension and benefit budget, are there any other questions or comments to add on this?
Motion to recommend? Second.
Abstain?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. Okay, so that concludes all of our budgets. Correct, Sharon? We didn't forget anyone? All right, that's good. So what I want to get back to then would be, let's button up the transfers, and then the town meeting warrant, and then, given whatever time we've got, we'll get back to it. Just a general discussion on the budget process. So in terms of transfers, let's go to the next one I have in front of me would be under the DPW Highway. DPW Director Bill Coyle is requesting a $60 transfer from the building supplies account to the license account. This is a license reimbursement for one of his employees. Any questions on this?
Motion to approve? Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. Our next transfer, this is under the DPW Cemetery Department. Gonna bring Wayne along tonight? I love it when Wayne shows up. Come on. Say, my requested is $76.90. This is to the heating oil from the gas account to cover the final oil bill for the cemetery office. Are you gonna hold him to this?
Yes.
Promise. Yeah, if not, he can put in like a higher watt light bulb in there or something like that. All right. Do you have any questions on this?
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Our next transfer. Let's see, this is actually from the town manager under employee benefits. This is a transfer of $29,627 from the group health account to the insurance and bonds account. Reason for the transfer is amount required for adjusted premium resulting from fiscal year 2014 workers' comp audit. Ed, can we have a quick explanation on this?
Yeah, I think I informed the committee that this would be coming forward. We just had a audit for our FY14 payroll. It is an annual workers' comp audit. Unfortunately, for the year that this audit was done, our mod, or our rating factor, was high, and I've been told it's gone down significantly, which it will hopefully lead to a reduction in our workers' comp premium. But this is one of the highest years. If you look at our 5-year mod, this is the highest year of the 5 years. So in the past, we've had some exposure, not this significant because the mod wasn't that high. I think last year, our workers' comp audit resulted in a payment of about $15,000. We do have about $25,000 left in our insurance and bonds account. The total additional premium we have to pay is roughly $54,000, so this makes up that difference.
And we've got availability in the group health.
The group health for this year as well, we had a premium holiday, which resulted in about $120,000 savings to that account. So yeah, we're expecting to close with a surplus.
With a
in that account.
surplus, okay. Any other questions or comments?
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, so voted. Our last transfer. This is a reserve account transfer, salary for the Executive Office of Town Manager. Amount requested $819.84. This is from the salary and wage reserve, so salary adjustment. Amount requested per Town Manager contract, Section 4, Salary B, contractual obligation for performance evaluation. Ed?
As a result of the evaluation by the town manager Monday evening, she is entitled to a $2,000 additional base wage increase. This obligation is from period beginning on January 31st of 15 through June 30th. So it's a prorated portion.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, so voted. Ed, any idea the balance in that salary
Yes.
reserve account, just so we know, we got a quarter left?
What was this transfer, 800? Roughly 11,000.
Good. That's good. Okay, that takes care of the transfers. Before we go to the town meeting warrant, did you want to give us something quick, update on the budget itself?
Sure, I handed out an update, and this was before the action that the Finance Committee took tonight. Given the fact that you voted the budget as recommended, it has no impact on what you're seeing now. We did have roughly a $37,000 deficit coming in, and quite honestly was struggling on how to deal with that leading up to town meeting. I had a conversation with the chair. We thought it would be best to deal with it now rather than deal with it later, given the fact that the governor's revenue commitment in his budget for 2016 would give us an additional roughly $138,000 of revenue. So we took a little piece of that, 37. If you look at the top of the first page, it says uses $37,168 of the governor's committed increase of $138,000. So we're not using 100% of what he has committed to. I can tell you the House Chapter 70 numbers came out today.
Yeah.
I have not seen unrestricted local aid on the House side, just Chapter 70. Chapter 70 House numbers is up net 11,000 over, close to 12,000 over the governor's numbers. So if the assessments and the assessment numbers and cherry sheet charges haven't been released either, even if we were to mirror what the governor has put out in terms of charges and assessments, that would make the 138 roughly go to about 150. So it is moving in the right direction. We're not slipping. We're basically holding our own. All the more reason not to use a portion of the governor's. It's too early to say. But we wanted to at least present a balanced budget to town meeting. If that revenue, and I'd rather do that on the revenue side than on the expense side. If I take a portion of the expense off, it's going to be very difficult for me to add it back in once I take it away. So we used a portion of the revenue, and that's how we balance the budget.
So we can at least go to town meeting with a balanced budget.
Yeah.
We're really contemplating not doing that, huh?
And
Wow. Go ahead, Kim.
And Ed, if the governor's numbers were to hold and we do a special town meeting in September, we would likely have, if those numbers held, around $100,000
That is correct.
additional.
Correct. Now, at that time, we'll also know what our local receipt number, I mean, there's always a changing of numbers. and
Right.
We're using projections on the local receipt side. But, you know, if they come in as projected, that is correct. We'd have about $100,000 of supplemental appropriation to consider.
Any other questions, Kim? Oh, Kim, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You're conservative on local receipts too, so it's not like you're,
But in the FY16 budget, we did
A
add,
little less conservative,
right,
right?
only because we're expecting that we're going to trend towards increasing our reserves and our free cash for this year, which takes a little pressure off, and we're able to be more realistic than ultra-conservative.
And you've been ultra-conservative, absolutely. Which, hey, as of right now, we're in a very good spot. Any other comments or questions, Ted? Okay, then why don't we get into the town meeting warrant? Really, most of these are pretty vanilla in terms of, they haven't changed much from year to year. Sharon, our options here are vote to recommend. Vote-
Would not recommend,
Yep.
defer, or take no position and make a recommendation at the town meeting.
And my goal is not to have a reason for us to meet before town meeting, probably for the first time since last month, right? Special town meeting. Okay, we'll start with Article 2, which is our operating budget. I am not going to read through this whole thing, I'm losing my voice. I'm going to do everyone a favor and just kind of paraphrase, and if anyone cares to disagree with how I'm portraying some of these articles, please step in. Article 2 is basically our operating budget. We don't have a dollar amount that gets put in, I guess, for the town meeting members.
Motion to recommend?
second, it's our article anyway.
Right.
So let's hope we're unanimous on this one anyways. So we have a motion to recommend and a second. All in favor of the recommendation?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Any opposed? So voted. Thanks. Article 3, this is our capital improvement budget. It is what it is.
Also ours, motion to recommend.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Article 4, see if town meeting will vote to authorize the town treasurer with the approval of Board of Selectmen to borrow money from time to time in anticipation of revenue to be received during the financial year beginning July 1, 2015, and ending June 30, 2016, and to issue a note or notes that may be given for a period of less than 1 year, or act on anything relative thereto.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Excuse me. Article 5, to see if town meeting will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to submit applications for any available state or federal funds, including Department of Elder Affairs formula grant funds, which funds the board determines to be beneficial to the town, and to authorize the expenditure of any money received as a result of said applications.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Article 6, see if town meeting will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to sell at public auction or by sealed bid or at assessed value under special circumstances any properties which the town may have acquired or may hereafter acquire through tax title foreclosure proceedings, and to sign, acknowledge, and deliver in the name and under the seal of the town deeds therefore.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted. Article 7, to see if the town meeting will vote to authorize the town treasurer to enter into compensatory balance agreements during fiscal year 2016 as permitted under Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53F, or any other enabling statute. If voted, this will permit the treasurer to maintain specific sums of money and deposits in banks in return for banking services.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Article 8, see if town meeting will vote to establish or renew revolving funds for various town and school programs in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and 1/2, and Chapter 44, Section 53D.
Motion to recommend?
Second, do we have a list of the,
I can provide that to you,
How many revolvers we got?
quite a few.
Are they all active? I mean, have we whittled that down?
No, there are some that have been approved, like a demolition revolving account that,
Just haven't,
yeah, it's on the books, but
okay. Do you have a motion on this? I'm sorry.
Motion?
yeah, there was.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. Thank you. Article 9, see if town meeting will vote to authorize the town manager to enter into a contract or contracts with the Mass Department of Transportation for construction and maintenance of public highways for the period commencing July 1st, 2015 and ending June 30th, 2016.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. Article 10, see if town meeting will vote to appropriate from available funds a sum of money if it becomes available from Mass Department of Transportation Chapter 90 bond issue proceeds to be used for the repair and maintenance of town roads in conformance with the Commonwealth general laws.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. How much we up to on that? Chapter 90?
Yeah, nice.
We got a pretty good number, Bill, on that?
Yeah.
Typically 610,000, but this year we had an additional 305, plus pothole money of another 92, so a little 400,000 additional this year.
Okay, so we'll be just under or right around $1 million, all in,
This year,
this year. This would be fiscal 16 or 15?
it's 15/16.
Glad I got a good answer out of you. This summer?
The work is this year.
Yeah, I
Money
get
is
you.
over 2 fiscal
Over the
years.
2 fiscal years. Thank you. Appreciate that. Let's see, Article 11, see if town meeting will vote to appropriate $500,000 to the other post-employment benefits liability trust fund.
Question? What's our balance in that account right now, our OPEB?
as of June 30th, it was 1.1. We have another $500,000 contributed for the current fiscal year. That'll put us 1.6, 1.7 now.
Not including this one?
Not including this one.
Okay.
Let's get us over 2 million then.
Well,
Interesting, good. Do we have a motion on this?
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, so voted. Thank you. Article 12, see if town meeting will vote to appropriate $124,000 from Medicaid receipts within the general fund revenues to the Auburn School Department operating budget for fiscal year 2016 to fund supplies and medical, therapeutic, and educational services for significantly disabled special needs students, as well as tuition and transportation to and from outside placements or within the district for special needs students.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
Any comments or questions on this? I know this is a normal article. The dollars have changed a little bit from year to year. I think the dollars are the same as last year. Well, they're pretty
Same
close,
as-
right?
Same as current year.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. Thank you. Article 13, see if town meeting will vote to appropriate $8,478.71, which is the interest earned by the Auburn High School Gymnasium Health and Recreational Trust Fund to offset school department costs at Auburn High School in support of community health and recreational activities at Auburn High School Gymnasium and related facilities and equipment.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I ask a question? Just
Yes.
What's our balance, Ed, in that account? Was it $500,000?
$500,000 trust, that's the interest that's earned on that annually.
What percentage interest? So we get $8,000 on $500,000?
It's broken out into different investment vehicles, so I'd have to
Yeah.
take a look at
That's
the
all right.
return on that.
Not much.
No.
Article 14, see if town meeting will vote to appropriate a sum of money from McKinney-Vento receipts within the general fund revenues to the Auburn School Department operating budget for fiscal year 2016 to fund transportation for students to and from school who have become homeless during the 2014/2015 school year.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
Question.
Question?
What's McKinney-Vento receipts?
That's money that comes from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for homeless transportation students. That number is not known yet. Quite honestly, I think in years past, we have, that number probably will not be known but when we go to town meeting, and we will hold that or postpone that indefinitely till the fall when that number is known.
This article get postponed?
Well, we have to keep it on the warrant in the event a number is known before town meeting.
But we'd still be in the middle of the school year, correct? It's for 2014, 2015.
Right, but this would be a distribution, the FY16 budget.
So,
This is a FY16 appropriation.
Right, but we're taking a vote in the early May, and we're still in the 14/15 school year, right? So how could all the receipts be in for us to even be contemplating a number? We wouldn't have it yet, right?
No, there's an amount being considered by the legislature. I think that pool is $11 million. I don't know the method of allocation, but I know our share for 15 was only $600. The year before that, it was $12,000. So it depends upon the number of students that we are transporting. That information is known, but the pool of money that is being distributed hasn't been settled on.
Okay.
thank you.
So would we be better to recommend to postpone?
If I were the committee, I would defer to the petitioner, because you can't recommend something that is not known at this time.
Okay.
But arguably, we don't have any numbers on Article 2
We don't have
or
any
3,
num-
right?
No.
Yeah,
Well,
we're,
technically, we do. We have this, the whole budget.
I'm being,
Maybe we should, did we,
I would think that eventually
You
we
can
would be in
withdraw.
favor of accepting these funds anyways, because all we're doing would be
But the
as a playing field.
funds are
right?
coming in, this is to appropriate them to schools, and you don't know how much you're appropriating.
so I withdraw my motion to recommend, and I instead make a motion to defer to the petitioner.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Well thought out. Article 15, see if town meeting will vote to accept Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, I guess that'd be Section 5C and a half, and all subsequent amendments thereto, and increase the exemption values for which taxpayer qualifies to 100% or act on anything relative thereto. This is from the Council on Aging.
Is this Ed, is this the senior citizen tax write-off, where they have the ability to work for
No.
the town?
This is an exemption that they qualify based upon certain criteria of income and other elements. There has been a recent change in the law. The motion would reflect that. This has been reviewed by town council, who advised that the motion reflect the change in the law. It doesn't change the eligibility, it doesn't change the qualifications, but if you would like to read this, Mr. Chairman, from
It's on the bottom of that page.
if I may read this into the record. Town council writes under Article 15, this article needs to be deleted. The original language of the warrant refers to Section 4 of Chapter 73 of the Acts of 1986. This section of law was repealed by Sections 14 and 27 of Chapter 62 in the Acts of 2014. I recommend that the following language be used in Article 15, so we actually have to change the warrant article. To see if town meeting will vote to accept MGL Chapter 59, Section 5C and a half, and all subsequent amendments thereto, and increase the exemption values for which the taxpayer qualifies to 100% or act on anything relative thereto. He writes, this article will allow town meeting to vote to accept Section 5C and a half, and determine the exemption percentage. Unlike previous years where the exemption percentage needed to be voted annually, the percentage established by town meeting in May 2015, presumably 100%, will remain in effect until another percentage is therefore voted.
So should we defer because article's going to change anyway? Is that what you just said?
I would suggest that you make either a recommendation on the proposed language by town council.
That's what we have in front of us.
That's in the warrant.
Oh, so we
So
have an
the
accurate one?
correct-
You have the right one.
Okay, that is in
Which
the
is
warrant.
corrected.
Oh, okay. So motion to recommend.
We have a second, question, comment?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted.
Thank you.
Okay, the next, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit on these, the next two. Article 16, see if town meeting will vote to rescind unused borrowing authorizations previously voted by the town. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ed, it looks to me like these are, to some extent, some leftover monies. To others, they were just earmarks that were going to be replaced by different monies.
These are monies that were authorized that were never borrowed by the town, so they are no longer needed. We're cleaning them up. It makes sense to clean them up because those authorizations do provide for potential liability on the town side. This is something that the rating agencies like to see reviewed and cleaned up periodically.
Can you talk very briefly to the 4 largest ones?
Starting with the largest one, this was an authorization that was passed by a town meeting that would allow for the rehabilitation of the existing middle school when the new high school was proposed up on Prospect Street. That was shy of what was needed. A debt exclusion vote went to the voters seeking an additional $6 million for both projects. It was defeated. This piece was never exercised.
And this was as of March of 2000, just so everyone's clear on that.
Actually, I think $600,000 of the original authorization, which I think was $13,500,000, was used for design and engineering plans, which was done, which really led to the debt exclusion vote on a cost estimate higher than what was provided for by town meeting. The 1.1 was an old authorization that basically stipulated the town would match a grant if authorized by the state. The grant never came through. That's been sitting out there for years. That really needs to be cleaned up. That would have put money into our parks. $419,000 for the Auburn High School middle school feasibility study. There was an authorization of $600,000. We got 50-some-odd% from the state. We didn't have to utilize the full authorization. That is the existing balance that we are asking to be rescinded.
Remember that.
And $78,000 from an 09 capital improvement plan for items that departments never asked to be borrowed for.
Okay. I guess I'll ask you on that one more, and the one from 1996 on design and construction. Is that unused funds on a
Those are
completed
unused,
project?
those are unused funds for sewer projects that was
Otherwise
authorized by town
completed.
meeting.
Okay.
Actually, the first two are sewer
The
related.
first two, okay, that's fine. So that's basically the basis of Article 16.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
I want to make a comment. This is not money coming back, it's just money that was authorized to be spent. So I just want to make sure that's clear.
Yes, correct. This would allow us to actually, if we wanted to, we could go out and borrow this money tomorrow. There is no need to borrow it, so we're asking it to be rescinded.
Good answer.
Motion to recommend. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. Article 17, I guess I'll read this one. See if town meeting will vote to authorize town treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to borrow a total $1.3 million for the following 2 items: 2 sewer bypass pumps, Hilltop Farm Road Pump Station conversion to gravity sewer, and to convert aging pneumatic ejector stations to submersible pump stations. The principal and interest for this borrowing will be paid through sewer retained earnings. By the way, Jeff, I pronounced everything correctly on this one. I'm sure I did. Any questions, or, well, thank you. Your motion?
Motion to recommend?
Second?
Any comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Article 18, see if town meeting will vote to repurpose remaining CIP funds. I think there was either 19 or 20. These were just, I think, purchases, et cetera, where there were some monies left over. Totaling $35,148. This is for a ventilation system for the DPW garage. Just a couple of the bigger numbers there, Ed, if you can comment, the 2 largest being the $10,000 on the town hall shelving and the $13.8 on the Eddy Pond Dam.
I think the Eddie Pond Dam original authorization was $600,000. After the construction, the rehabilitation of the dam, we didn't spend the full $6. So that money is sitting available that we can now amend for a different purpose. Town hall shelving, we had some shelving donated to the town that we are utilizing up on the top floor here, so there was no need to go out and buy new shelving. Unlike the other authorizations, this money has already been borrowed. It's money that we're sitting on. As I'm sure you're well aware, over the past several years, every annual town meeting, we bring to town meeting, we try to clean this up and keep it current. So this is actually going through all of our borrowed monies through basically fiscal 13, because the money borrowed at the town meeting of 12 is really 13 money. So, and we are repurposing that for a ventilation system in the DPW garage.
And what's the status? Is there a ventilation system there at all? I didn't think there was one, so. Not working. Okay.
Now, this was on the capital improvements list that was identified by the town manager. We identified several different ways to address those capital needs. One of those was from residual bond proceeds. So this has been a high priority. There is a safety factor that we want to address. So this is one of the ways that we're addressing one of our capital needs through our facilities assessment.
Is this the total cost of the project?
Yeah, roughly. Not precisely, I mean, it just happens to be in the mid-30s, so we believe this will be close enough to address that need.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. And I guess good use of funds we've got out there. Article 19, which I believe is our last article. See if town meeting will vote to amend Article 26 of the May 1st, 2008 annual town meeting, which authorized the town treasurer to borrow the sum of $600,000 under provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7, or any other enabling authority for the purpose of the town's share of reconstruction, of Southbridge Street, Route 1220 overlap from the Oxford Town Line to Washington Street, and the amount of said borrowing shall be reduced by the value of any grants or mitigating agreements that the town may be the beneficiary of for the reconstruction of Southbridge Street, Route 1220 overlap. The amendment shall include designs, services, and right-of-way acquisitions for the reconstruction of Auburn Street from Central Square to I-290. All right, let's have some questions on this.
Bill Coyle, DPW Director, I thought you might want some explanation on
Thank
what
you,
this
Bill.
is.
Yeah.
Essentially, the town borrowed approximately $375,000, I believe it was, for the design of the Route 1220 overlap project that's currently under construction from the Oxford Town Line to the 1220 split by Pub 99. So there's a remaining of about $225,000, I believe, to be borrowed. And what we are looking to do, we had a project approved by Mass DOT to reconstruct Auburn Street from Central Square to I-290 by the high school. That was approved for $2 million. It would be similar to the work that was done on Millbury Street in front of the DPW, but this would also include reconstruction or replacement of the traffic signal at Brotherton Way, and it was also include replacement of the bridge railing on the bridge over Dock Brook as well. So that's a $2 million project that would be funded, I believe it's 80% federal, 20% state. I may have said that backwards the other day. And the town would be responsible for the design. So what this article would do would allow the town to go out to borrow approximately $225,000 to fund the design and any potential right-of-way acquisitions. Once the town has the project designed and completed and ready to go, we would then compete for the funding against other projects within the region. But it has been approved by the state, and now you have to get the project ready to be advertised and then you can push to get it approved on the transportation improvement plan.
I'll open up the questions. Kim?
Motion to recommend.
Second.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill, thanks for the explanation. I believe that does it for the town meeting warrant.
It'll be a record. It's gonna be a record.
It's not bad, 19, so that's fine. That leaves us with one agenda item that we had briefly touched on before I opened my big mouth and said, let's just finish up what we've got. And this is a discussion of the budget process, and this has been kind of coming to fruition for a little while for us, trying to address that we will not be doing for this budget process, but I think we would like to implement sometime in the summer or later on when we start looking at budget strategy. Some of this had come up where, in my words anyways, right now, our school budget, as has been the case for years and years and years, there are several costs related to running the schools safely, including employee costs relating to benefits, et cetera, that have been picked up on the town side, which is just more of a budgeting motion on this. However, there's been some concern that's been brought to our attention that we're not fully recognizing for the town to know the full cost for running the schools, including, it is, what, 2/3 at least of the employees of the town, our school employees? Is it somewhere around there?
I think that's fair to say. I don't have the exact numbers, but I can get those for you. But if you look at it in terms of a percentage of health, and not everyone
Right,
joins health, it's about 70%.
okay. And-
That holds pretty true to 2/3.
Okay, and in my budgeting career, which is now somewhere close to 30 years, somewhere 30-ish% of an employee's salary, or what an employee makes, you can add to that for really their benefits costs, which includes health insurance, pension, 401K, et cetera, et cetera. We have a Schedule 19 that's published every year, that's been agreed to between the town CFO and the school department every year, reviewed every few years.
I think it's actually reviewed every year because those percentages change based upon the direct appropriation of the school department to the budget, and as well as the measurement of activity as it relates to health insurance, Medicare, and other ones that we can actually put group health insurance, we can measure that too.
Okay.
I mean, not group health, insurance and bonds.
So what's going on with this is basically our group health costs, these benefit costs go up actually more than what we've really budgeted as a town for our cost of living increase, which is our 1.25%, 1.5%, wherever that works out every single year. And it actually turns into, unfortunately, just simple mathematics, a squeeze, and this is really no fault of the schools, so I want to be very clear on this, in terms of on the municipal side, where we do have to pay for these costs. We identify a certain percentage increase on our school department, and that percentage increase is actually somewhat more than that every year, and it's not something new, it's something that's been in there every year, at least since I've been on this committee anyways. But it's been brought to our attention that maybe we're not representing those costs appropriate enough for town meeting to look at and to understand as they're looking at the school budget. I'll be the first to say that I still commend the school department and the school committee for holding the line as best as possible every year on their increases to the school budget. And I underline that. All you got to do is pick up the telegram and look at other towns and what's being asked and what's being basically paid for in terms of increases to school budgets, and I'm fairly certain all schools that don't have a regional component are dealt with the same way. I think the benefits piece is probably not included in that school number. Ed, I don't know, that's what I've been told over the years.
Yeah, I think if you go back years ago, there were communities and municipalities that appropriated those costs directly to schools. I can tell you when I cut my teeth in Lowell, they assumed that at least the group health insurance directly is a line item in their budget. I would venture to say that doesn't happen today.
Right.
Most municipalities handle it the same way we handle it, and we reflect those costs through Schedule 19, or in a similar fashion that we had presented to you tonight. And it makes it difficult. I mean, when you appropriate a cost directly to the school department, it's never ends up on that number, so you're constantly doing transfers to meet that obligation during that. And it becomes administratively, it becomes very difficult to manage, because you don't know what those costs are until open enrollment. The budgets are already set, now you have to make adjustments to the budget. And it's tough to do once a budget is set, and that would have to come before the Finance Committee, at least in our form of government, so.
Right. And to be clear on that, I give a good example. If there are 2/3 of our employees that are teachers or teaching administrators, et cetera, then their size number is actually, on a percentage basis, driving down our increases in group insurance on a percentage basis, because it's a larger population to be dealing with on a negotiated basis with health insurance companies. So there's a give and take on this. This is going to be something we'll pick up in some appropriate form with the school department, with Dr. Brunel, after the first of the fiscal year anyways, just to see if there's some different ways to present this. I'm not advocating for any changes at this point in time. If there's some additional schedules that town meeting members should and would like to have on this, then going forward, it'd be great to maybe modify the budget presentation a little bit to further identify this. And we'll see where that goes. I'll open it up to comments. Ed?
To kind of put the moose on the table, would the end goal be more to present the information on how the budget split between municipality and schools, and then see if there's an opportunity that we can try to get more increase for the municipal side? Would that be sort of the end goal of what we're looking at?
My opinion is that would just drive up the total dollars anyway, so I wouldn't be in favor of that, just on a general basis. I've been saying since I've been on this committee, and since we went to the 1.25% on 1.50%, there's no way over time that reflects the true cost of living or cost of living increase every year. And if it right now is becoming apparent that the squeeze is falling on the municipal side, because I think Bill Westland had said something, you have a balloon with so much air in it, you squeeze one side, the other side gets bigger, et cetera, you still have that balloon. And I'm not advocating that we change from our current financial policies on this, but it's something that I think we all want people to be aware of. Unfortunately, for several different reasons, I think the DPW area right now is probably in its lowest part of full employment or adequate employment in decades, and I'm not blaming this, but I am blaming the fact that we came up with a number we're trying to stick with, and it just does not compute with the true cost, the annual cost of living in terms of running government, including schools.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I think it's important to know, and I want to identify this. If you look at the third page of this handout, and this is, I think, where it becomes important to convey this to town meeting. If you look at the increase in the budget of 3.95, someone, and I think in today's economic environment, someone would say that is not acceptable. That's high, that's trending above what a CPI index would reflect. But I made a footnote at the bottom. If you subtract out what was approved by the voters to fund the Auburn Middle School project, the rate of increase in government, the growth in the budget is only 1.67%, well under 2.5%. So as you can see, there are fixed costs that are really driving the increase in this budget. in the middle school being primarily the biggest factor. I mean, that's a big increase. But we knew it was coming, and I think town meeting members and the voters should know that. Government is not fat and happy, we're not spending money because it's out there. This is a mandate by the voters, and roughly 2.3% of that increase is related to the Auburn Middle School.
If I could add to that, Ed, a lot of that has to do with the town just refusing to keep up to date with the schools on a staggered or on a normal basis for decades. And I grew up in the middle of that, and I think the last, I could be wrong, the last newest school opened sometime around where I was born in the early 60s, and we didn't do anything for any new schools until 2006. We should be staggering the opening of schools and putting out these huge capital projects. I mean, the irony is on it, we keep looking forward in terms of, hey, look, is there something we should be doing with Town Hall here? Should we put up a public safety facility, et cetera, et cetera? Any of these big projects are probably going to be less or even a quarter of the size of putting up the middle school or the high school. We are by far, these two projects that we've put out there and are building in a 10 or 15-year period, we're never going to build anything like that in the next 50 or 60 years. We really should have done a better job of staggering those big construction projects, the biggest we're ever going to have in town.
So, Mr. Chairman, if you just look at the middle of the page, if you can see just the debt exclusion, there's 4 line items grouped together.
Yep.
So we had a total obligation, which basically was a ban in FY15 of 43, and now we have roughly a that's about 1.3, almost a $1.4 million obligation. So it's a pretty big increase just for that one project.
Absolutely. And coincidentally, we had the Bay Path project that came in on top of that.
Right.
And arguably, you could say that, hey, look, we've been lucky enough to take advantage of the lowest interest rates we'll probably ever see.
That's a good point. I mean, and now you net that out at 1.65, 1.67, that doesn't even include the Bay Path. So if you subtract that off, even though that wasn't funded through a debt exclusion, it was a voter mandated project.
Capital improvement.
That went up roughly from 70-some-odd thousand to 214, that's another $130,000.
And we could add to that, we had great oversight for the high school. Right now, it looks like we've got great oversight for the middle school, which is unlike most town projects like this, or school projects, that most of this stuff is very likely coming in on or near budget on a $40+ million project. I mean, we are fortunate that we're staying on top of these things, as expensive as they are. I'll shut my mouth. Someone else have comments? Ed, you were on a roll there.
Well, I was still trying to figure out what, because is it more just for the education of the town meeting members about how we're spending the money? And I can see we got some good rationale on why maybe we could go up to 2.5% per year, if there was a good reason. So I'm just trying to figure out what is, where are we leading toward? And I know we can't answer that question.
Well, part of this goal is, this committee is to educate and also represent the taxpayers. Once again, I'm still not in favor of going away from our financial policies, but I really don't have an answer in terms of how we really adequately fund an area where all of a sudden we're doing some really good work with the DPW. It's just a little frustrating. Bill's ripping his hair out over there, I can see. Kim?
From my perspective, I think I would like to be able to treat general government and schools on an equal footing, so that if maybe you separate all the fixed costs and don't include that in the percentage increase on the town side or the school side, so that if the schools is getting a 2.1% increase, if the town side were to get the same 2.1% increase, maybe some of these department needs could be addressed. Because for the last several years, we've sat here and listened to these department heads tell us that they need this, this, and this. And we say, well, we can't do it right now because we'll be coming back in September, and September comes and it never gets done. So every year, they're in a position of asking for it, and we see their need, and we say, well, we can't do it right now, but, and through no fault of the schools, I don't have any fault with them, but, you know, they're increasing their staffing.
Right.
Last year, they increased their staffing. This current budget has increased in staffing, which I'm sure that they need that staff, but there are staffing needs on the town side as well.
right.
And they never even get to the plate.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how to accomplish this if it's, you know, segregate all the fixed costs so that they're not part of the percentage of increase, so that they're treated, I mean, how do you treat both sides equally?
Well, if I can answer that, and I think there has been an attempt to do that over the last 5 or 6 fiscal years. If you look at this page, which is about 3 pages from the back end, as you can see, we separate all the general government departments, and we separate all the fixed costs, and we try to mirror the rate of increase, or try to create some parity in the rate of growth on the operational side of the budget. So if you look at all of the town departments for FY16 are growing at a rate of 1.41. If you look at schools, they're growing at a rate of 1.55. And I think if you looked at prior years, it was a lot closer together. Early on, without knowing the revenue, we tried to meet the needs of the school department as best we can. We try to provide a number to them early on based upon their contractual obligations, even though we didn't meet their recommended budget. And I can say the same for the town departments. We haven't met their needs as well, but we try to create some parity in the rate of growth on a percentage basis. And I know it's a lot greater for schools, but their budget is larger, so even if it's the same rate of increase, the number is larger because
Right.
that's just the way it is. So that's how we address the parity, and we try to say to the departments, listen, based upon what revenue growth we have to live within a certain amount, and we try to pass that out as equally as we can and let the departments determine how they can best utilize that growth factor. And as you can clearly see, the priorities are in the area of public safety and DPW. Other departments are not growing at a rate consistent with that blended amount, but we have to address it based upon need and priority.
Ed, can I ask a question about, and I don't know if this is appropriate to ask this question, but I've been on the Finance Committee for 6 years, and I never can get an answer on this. So when I look at the different budgets, the school department has the biggest swing in salaries between individual employees. So if I look at the like a highest step salary for a teacher, and I compare it to entry-level teacher right out of school, so when we budget it, we're gonna budget it if that person is at the highest level, and then plus 2%, whatever it is. But then if that person retires, and we're kind of moving into where more people are gonna retire, they're gonna budget for the higher salary, and then...
No, they know.
They actually, they knock it down.
They know in October who's going out the
Yes.
following year, and they adjust their budget request knowing that that hire coming in, the new hire coming in is going to be a lower rate of pay.
Okay. But wouldn't, if there was a big swing in retirements, wouldn't we see the salary going down quite a bit then? If they're hiring a lot more younger, new in career teachers versus lateral movement from other?
Well, I think that's why they're able to live within a growth that's less than 2%, because they are realizing that savings
Okay,
that is putting money back into the operational side of the budget.
okay. Thank you.
In no school system, and, I'm sure you can comment on this, would want to have 20% of their teachers retiring in 1 year anyway, so. But I know within the line items they gave us, I know we can't vote individually on it. They were explicit in terms of they're bringing in a much lower salaried position for
Okay.
those that are retiring. Yeah, it was within their detail on it. Any other comments or questions, Ann?
Question, or just a comment. I mean, we always talk about the municipal side of the budget and the school side of the budget, and perhaps we should just be clear that when we're talking about benefits, any of the employee benefits, the OPEB funding, the group insurance, Worcester County retirement, insurance for facilities, I mean, those are everybody numbers. So, when we realize big increases in those line items, that should, we have to realize that part of that is due to the schools also. I guess I don't like to see the delineation between school and municipal. And we should realize that these costs that we're talking about are for everybody.
That's a good point. We're not going to come up with answers tonight without a doubt on this. And once again, I don't think anyone here on this board at this point in time wants to say, well, hey, look, 2.5 is a great number. We should be spending to that every year. We'll take care of everybody, because I don't think we want to do that, as a matter of fact. We're sort of managing by exception and by need, which I give some kudos to Ed and Julie for managing that process. But it has been quite a long time since a couple of departments have had some needs that are out there to be met. The reorganization, I think, might have bought town administration a little bit of time while that thing settles down. But I believe everything is fairly in place now. We've been building up inspectional services a little bit.
Yep.
But to me, that also gets driven by growth of the town, and there's a revenue side to that, too. So,
Mr. Chairman, if
Yeah.
I may, I just noticed I printed out the wrong page. The one I had you focus on actually takes into consideration the Bay Path level of debt. If you look at the bottom, that 1.67 in reality on a growth factor is 1.40. If you look at the last line, it says less Auburn Middle School Bay Path debt.
yep.
So the 1.67 is really 1.40. So I really need to print another one of these that grosses that back up again.
Okay. All right. And I think we're going to need to probably bring in Julie and have a discussion about this. And in terms of an approach, one thing I refuse to do, at least while I'm chairman, is allow for bickering from the municipal versus school side. We've done a good job getting away from that, certainly in the last 10 years. And if we decide to go back to something along those lines, then you can have another, face for radio up here trying to run these meetings, because that doesn't work either. And that just turned into a lot of poorly planned expense overrides and this and that. And this town, I think, is too well managed to need to do that, especially with our, I hate to say it all, our excess levy, which I hope we never use. Any other comments? Mallory, quiet over there. You don't need to abstain on this. It's very unlike you. All right. Any final thoughts from anyone?
Yes.
Ann?
Ed, you're going to give us a list of revolving accounts?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
And balances?
Yes, I will give you an up-to-date report.
Thank you.
That's good. All right, so the next time we're going to meet will be for the town meeting. That's on Tuesday, May 5th. I'm hoping all town meeting members watched our meeting tonight, so at least we won't have any finance questions coming up. We don't need to meet beforehand, which is a real good thing. So the town meeting members here on the board, it starts at 7 o'clock, I believe. And I'll certainly probably be there somewhere between 6:30 and 6:45 myself. Anything else? Kim?
Should we set a meeting for before if we've got transfers, or no?
No, it's be before fiscal year end, so I don't think we need any transfers done before that, right?
I'm not aware of any. I think we try to bring in what we had tonight.
I know Jeff Mitchell always tries to bring in an article beforehand, and we've been pretty good saying, no, that can wait. We should be good then? Great, so we'll see everyone at town meeting. I will accept the motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, so voted. Thank you.